What if I told you the shoes that signal real inherited wealth, what fashion now calls quiet luxury, carry no logo, no celebrity endorsement, and no marketing budget? Because the families who have been wearing them for 4 generations have never once needed one. The brands the luxury industry advertises to you are not what old money wears. They never were. Right now, I'm handing you the list they keep to themselves. 10 shoes, 10 names, ranked from distinguished to absolutely untouchable. We're going to walk through Northampton workshops that haven't changed their last in over a century, the same Goodyear welted bespoke construction that built the English aristocracy's wardrobe, a Budapest house that fitted Austro-Hungarian aristocracy for 100 years while the English-speaking world looked the other way. And by the time we reach number 1, you'll understand why the most important shoe house in the English-speaking world has no flagship on Bond Street or Jermyn Street and has never needed one. Hit subscribe. We post new videos every week that cut through the noise and put this knowledge back where it belongs, with you. Here are 10 shoes only, old money wears, ranked from distinguished to absolutely untouchable. Number 10, Trickers. The country shoe that built the English landed gentry. Trickers has been making shoes in Northampton since 1829, not since a brand refresh. Since the workshop was built, the same building, the same 250-step hand welting process aristocratic country families were ordering in the reign of George IV. Old money in England doesn't dress for the city, it dresses for the estate. The country brogue, the shooting boot, the derby, these were never fashion choices. They were utility purchases built to last 20 years and be resold twice. The Duke of Windsor wore them on country visits. Families with land in the Cotswolds have had a pair at the back door for 100 years. Industry insiders have finally caught up to what the English country set has always known. A Goodyear welt-constructed shoe on genuine leather sole and oak bark tanned upper will outlast 5 pairs of anything cemented in a modern facility, and a 50-pound Riesel extends the life of that shoe by another decade. What pushed Trickers from mainstream luxury conversation is that they refused to enter it. No global flagship, no campaign, old money never minded. The shop is on St. Michael's Road in Northampton. You'd walk past it without looking twice. Number 9. Crockett and Jones, the Northampton house that holds a royal warrant. Crockett and Jones was founded in 1879 by 2 brothers-in-law who believed English hand-welted construction would outlast every shortcut the trade was normalizing. They were right. The house now holds a royal warrant of appointment, not endorsed by the monarchy, appointed by it. The English aristocracy has ordered quietly from Crockett and Jones since the Victorian era, and the collectors who know the bench grades of churches since acquired by Prada, which tells you exactly what happened to its independence, and the Shell Cordovan allocation at John Lobb know the name. Almost no one else does. Style historians are now confirming what serious buyers have understood for decades. The Northampton welted construction in a Crockett and Jones shoe is functionally indistinguishable from shoes costing twice as much from houses with louder marketing. The 337 Last, a sleek, slightly elongated shape that sits correctly under a worsted trouser, is unchanged in 40 years. LVMH didn't acquire them. Kering didn't acquire them. They stayed private, stayed Northampton, stayed exactly what they are. There are Crockett and Jones stockists in 40 countries. Most customers in those stockists have never heard of them. Number 8. George Cleverley, the Mayfair bespoke house that dressed Churchill and Cary Grant. Winston Churchill ordered his bespoke shoes from George Cleverley. So did Cary Grant. So, reportedly, did the Aga Khan. The signature is the chisel toe. A squared-off toe box that looked unusual in the 1930s and looks precisely right today, in a world where most shoes are too pointed or too rounded. George Glasgow Sr. refined the last into something so specific that a knowledgeable eye identifies a Cleverley across a room before reading a label. Serious buyers are now catching up to what old Mayfair money has always understood. A bespoke shoe fitted to your specific last, built on Goodyear welt construction with a Blake stitch available as an alternative for a closer, sleeker profile. Changes posture, changes gait, and changes the break of a trouser. The fit is not cosmetic. It is structural. The Cleverley shop on the Royal Arcade off Old Bond Street still offers ready-to-wear versions of the house's hallmark lasts, the chisel toe, available without the 2-year bespoke wait. Cleverley got pushed from modern luxury conversation because a logo-less shoe with an 18-month lead time produces no content. The shop is 3 doors from a Bond Street jeweler you've heard of. You've never heard of Cleverley. Number 7. New and Lingwood, the Jermyn street house that has outfitted Eton since 1865. If there's a single address in English men's clothing that functions as a code, visible only to those who already know, it's Jermyn Street. And on Jermyn Street, New and Lingwood has been the outfitter of choice for Eton College since 1865. Eton produces prime ministers, cabinet members, and the kind of family that has purchased from the same houses for 4 generations. New and Lingwood's shoes weren't chosen because they were accessible. They were chosen because they were correct. The house makes a Prince Albert slipper, quilted velvet, piped edge, so specific to a certain stratum of English social life that it functions as a membership card for people who have never met. Style journalists are finally documenting what old money has always understood. The signals of inherited wealth are almost never loud. They're a fabric, a last, a house name on the inside of a soul no one but the wearer will ever see. The Jermyn Street building has been in continuous occupation since 1922. It has never tried to be found. Number 6. Foster and Son, the oldest bespoke shoemaker on Jermyn Street. Foster and Son was established in 1840, not as a retailer, as a bespoke shoemaker. The distinction matters because bespoke means your shoe is built from a wooden last carved to your specific foot, not a size that approximates it. That last is yours. It lives at the workshop. Every subsequent pair begins there. Foster and Son has been carving those lasts since Disraeli was Prime Minister, and old money in England knows the name the way it knows its solicitor. Quietly, precisely, without ever explaining the reference to anyone outside the circle. If you're starting to see the pattern here, if you're realizing that the shoes the ultra-wealthy actually wear are almost never the ones being marketed to you, hit that like button. It helps this video reach the people who are actually trying to dress with real authority. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Auction houses have begun cataloging Foster and Son shoes from the mid-20th century, still in active rotation. Not as collectibles, as footwear. That's what correct construction means across a 50-year horizon. The bespoke process is unchanged. Consultation, paper pattern, wooden last, first fitting, second fitting, finished shoe. 6 months. Every week of it earns its place. The shopfront on Jermyn Street has no street-facing display window. Their client was never looking for one. Number 5. Carmina, the Spanish house that European old money has been ordering since 1866. Carmina has been operating on the island of Majorca since 1866, and serious European old money families have been ordering from them for 4 generations while the English-speaking world looked the other way. The Pina family. Same island, same workshop. The construction is Goodyear welted, the method that allows a sole to be replaced a dozen times without the upper ever being touched. These are shoes designed to be worn by your son. Industry insiders are now confirming what the Carmina client has always known. The house's construction competes directly with Northampton houses at twice the price. The Rain Last, a sleek, semi-pointed shape that sits correctly under a continental trouser, has been in production for decades. What kept Carmina from the English language luxury narrative is geography. Spain wasn't part of that conversation until very recently. Old European money never needed it to change. The workshop in Majorca takes orders directly. There is no flagship on Old Bond Street. There has never needed to be. Number 4. Gaziano and Girling, the Northampton masters who refused to cut a single corner. Tony Gaziano and Dean Girling founded their house in Northampton in 2006. That date should disqualify them from an old money list. It doesn't, because what they built in under 2 decades is a reputation that inherited wealth families across Europe, the kind who buy once and maintain for life, now actively seek out. The construction is hand-lasted on a wooden form, the same principle that defines every house on this list, and the finishing is applied at a pace that makes production line economics impossible. The house's deco last has been compared favorably to bespoke work from houses charging 4 times as much. What Gaziano and Girling understood from the beginning, and what old money has always understood, is that the correct shoe is not the newest shoe. It's the best made shoe. The gap between a Goodyear welt and cemented construction is a 50-year gap in the life of the shoe. They don't advertise. The Mayfair showroom appointment fills months in advance. Number 3. Vass, the Budapest house that dressed old European aristocracy for a century. Budapest was, in the 19th century, one of the great shoemaking capitals of Europe. The Austro-Hungarian Empire's aristocratic families dressed in Hungarian leather, and Budapest ateliers competed with Vienna and Prague for the finest clients on the continent. Vass draws from that lineage: the V-shaped waist, the hand-stitched welt, shell cordovan sourced from Horween in Chicago, the only tannery on Earth still producing that leather to its original specification, and the same source used by American Goodyear welt houses like Alden of Massachusetts, which tells you exactly how universally that standard is respected. Old European families, particularly those with Central European estates, have been ordering from Budapest workshops for generations at a fraction of what comparable English bespoke costs. Shoe historians are now confirming what the Budapest client has always known. The price to construction ratio at Vass is the most extraordinary informal footwear anywhere in the world. What pushed them from Western luxury conversation is the Iron Curtain. For 50 years, Budapest was inaccessible. By the time the wall came down, the luxury marketing machine had already decided which houses mattered. Old money found Vass anyway. Number 2. St. Crispin's, the Vienna house making shoes by hand for families who have never needed to prove their taste. St. Crispin's was founded in Vienna in 1985, named for the patron saint of shoemakers. Every pair is hand-lasted over a wooden form, hand-welted, hand-channeled, and hand-finished in a small atelier in Písek in the Czech Republic. The clientele is old money in the purest sense, not newly wealthy buyers seeking validation, but families who have been dressing quietly and precisely for so long that a house name meaning nothing to outsiders is a feature, not a defect. St. Crispin's makes approximately 4,000 pairs per year, and that is not a production target. It is a ceiling. The house can't make more shoes without compromising the construction, so it doesn't. Serious collectors are now placing St. Crispin's on the same tier as London Bespoke, and above LVMH-owned houses like Berluti, where the conglomerate ownership has inevitably shifted the priority from construction to brand theater. And the patina work, hand-applied color gradients on the upper, is the finest in production footwear anywhere, at any price. There are stockists in Tokyo, London, and New York. Each has a waiting list. There has never been a flagship. There is a phone number for the workshop in Písek that is very hard to find. Number 1. Edward Green, the Northampton house that has defined what a shoe should be since 1890. What if I told you the most important shoe house in the English-speaking world has been operating in Northampton since 1890, that it made shoes for the Duke of Windsor, survived 2 world wars, came within weeks of closure in the 1980s when the trade was abandoning hand-welted construction entirely, was rescued by an Englishman who refused to let it die, and that most men who spend £5,000 on a suit have never heard of it? Houses like John Lobb carry twice the price and the prestige of a Paris address. Edward Green carries neither. It carries only the construction. Edward Green was founded by a man who believed the correct shoe required the correct last, and that no shortcut in construction was worth the customer discovering later. That belief has not been revised once in 130 years. The 202 last, a rounded, high instep shape that sits naturally under a British trouser, has been in continuous production for over a century. The Duke of Windsor wore it. Old English families with the same Wiltshire house for 5 generations are wearing it now. Industry insiders are finally confirming what English aristocracy has always known. An Edward Green shoe in box calf on the 202 last is the benchmark. Not one of the benchmarks, the benchmark. Goodyear welted, oak bark tanned, hand finished, built to be resold a dozen times and last a lifetime at a fraction of the cost of buying new every decade from a house that spent your money on a flagship instead of the welt. It was approached for acquisition twice and resisted both times. No LVMH, no caring, no conglomerate telling it to open a flagship in Dubai. The factory is on Duke Street in Northampton. There is no flagship on Bond Street. There has never needed to be. If you made it to the end, you now know something most men who spend seriously on their wardrobe will never know. The shoes that signal real inherited wealth, the quiet luxury that no marketing budget can manufacture, are not in department stores. They're being made in the same Northampton buildings, Budapest workshops, and Viennese ateliers they've always been made in, for the families who already know the names. Old money doesn't buy brands, it buys makers. Smash that like button. Drop a comment. Are you Team Edward Green, Team St. Crispin's, or Team George Cleverley? Subscribe to the Luxury Meltdown and ring that notification bell. The most powerful signal of real taste is never in the brand that pays to be seen. Sometimes it's in a building on Duke Street in Northampton, making the same Goodyear welted shoe it's been making since 1890, just waiting for you to find it.